What up? What up? What up? Welcome back to the Scorecard, Boxing Scorecard podcast. I am your host, Cedric Benn. Of course, you got to come with your scorecard and an explanation, not just your opinion. So, the big fight this weekend. There's a couple of good fights on this weekend, but the main one we'll be breaking down is Spence versus Ugas. Um, the fight went kind of exactly how I predicted it was going to go. Not just simply that Spence was going to win. He was the favorite. Obviously, everyone simply was easy to predict him to win, but in the way that he won, I specifically said this was going to be a tough 12-round match. Well, it didn't go to 12 rounds. It was going to be a tough test for Spence, but it would be Spence by unanimous. And going in, even though there was a lots of close rounds, Spence won most of the rounds, but there was many close rounds. Specifically on my scorecard, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had 5 rounds that I specifically marked as close rounds. And I'm gonna give. Yes, it was a great fight. I'm gonna give my specific breakdown of which rounds I gave. So going into that 9th round, when it was stopped, was it the 9th round? Yeah, going into the 10th round when it was stopped, I had it 88-83. Now, of course, that seems like a wide score, but like I said, the rounds were closer than they looked. So specifically, round 1 marked that as a close round. Spence was busier, not just simply busier. Not just simply busier, but he was actually landing. Ugas landed some good punches. We had some good body work in that first round, and Ugas's punches actually looked a little bit harder when he landed them. But I honestly thought that Spence. I was watching the fight with a few people who actually thought Ugas gave Ugas that first round, but I just thought Spence was busier and earned it. Round 2, I also marked it as a close round. I could see what Ugas was trying to do. He was still maintaining the center of the ring, trying to come forward, using his jab, and trying to counterpunch. I see your scorecard there, Dash. I'm gonna get into that in 1 second. As soon as I get through mine, he was trying to counterpunch Spence, but he was waiting in between. He was trying to throw in between Spence throwing, but because Spence was just so much more busier, Ugas, it just wasn't working out for him. He wasn't getting touched up. It was still a close round, but I still felt that Spence got that one in a close round. Round 3, I also marked that as close round. I know a couple people. I see Dash. You marked it round 3. You had for Ugas, right? Yeah, you gave round 3 to Ugas. I just felt Ugas did the work that he did was really only in the last 30 seconds of that round. I thought Spence still did what he was doing in the first 2 rounds, and then Ugas started to realize that the game plan of trying to wait and throw in between Spence throwing wasn't working. So he picked it up, but I thought it was just too late in that 3rd round. But again, I marked that as a close round, so I could see how other people would have gave that round to Ugas. Round 4 also marked it as a close round. My specific notes was nothing special happened. Spence was just busier. Ugas is longer and longer between landing. Yeah, again, Ugas, because of Spence's busyness, Ugas was waiting longer and longer in between times of trying to do something. What he was trying to do was working, and he was landing a couple of punches, but as time went on, those were fewer in between of him doing those things. That's why I gave that's round 4 to Spence. Round 5, my notes for round 5 was Spence clearly. Ugas again trying to come back in the last, trying to steal the round. He's trying to come back in the last like 30 seconds of the round, but so you got to pay attention to the whole round, and it happens sometimes if it's a close round and some guys try to steal it, especially in the last when they hear the last 10-second bell. What do we got here? Round 6. Here we go. Round 6 and 7. Round 6 and 7, I gave to Ugas, and I'll give my specific explanations why. In round 6 was the round that Spence got hurt by Ugas, and Spence said after the fight too, it was his own fault. He said he thought he heard the referee said break, the referee didn't say nothing, but he just started. So he's kind of stepped back and turned his head, and then that's when Ugas caught him, and rightfully so. That's they say protect yourself at all times. You're not just assuming that. So he got hurt. And then fought stronger. So I mean, when you get hurt like that, I don't even think he went down. So it was he got hurt, weathered the storm, and finished off that round. Round seven, I marked it. Sheila, what up? Spence kept his head down too long on the inside. You could say that, but Ugas wasn't making him pay for it. If that was the case, Ugas wasn't making him pay for it. He should have threw more uppercuts or inside fighting. Spence still did his thing on the inside. I see what you're saying, though. Round 7, I marked it as a close round. Someone on Twitter sent back to me too, asking me why I gave round 7 to Ugas, and my specific answer to that was Spence came back, but Ugas was winning most of the round because Spence wanted to prove that he wasn't hurt, and he did. He came back strong in that 7th round. Ugas tried to capitalize off the Spence being hurt in that 6th round, so Ugas came out strong. I thought Ugas owned most of that round, and in the last part of the round is when Spence really sat down and caught him with some shots. But I thought it was just the last half of that round. I thought Ugas still did own most of the work for that 7th round. So that's why I gave the 7th round to Ugas, and I marked it as a close round. Rounds 8 and 9. Round 8 is when Spence, my specific notes for round 8 was Spence dominating. He turned it up. So I said at the end of round 7 is when I gave round 7 to Ugas, but at the end of the round, Spence started to come back. At round 8 is when he kept up where he left off in that last round and really turned it up and was dominating. This is when you could see. This is where you can clearly see Ugas's right eye starting to swell up and close. They had to stop it at one point just for the doctor to check it. And again, that's showing Spence's heart, because again, getting hurt. One thing, getting hurt and then fighting even harder after. It's one thing, a lot of fighters get hurt and then change up the whole game plan after that. Spence got hurt and fought smarter and harder. Still came back harder after that. So, and that's something that you can't teach. No coach could teach you to have heart. That's something that you have in you, or you don't. Round 9, I didn't write anything for round 9. That was Spence round. And round 10 is when the referee or the doctor stopped it. Of course, well, not of course. Ugas was mad that that they stopped it early, but his eye was swelling up. I don't know. It was a 12-round fight. I don't think he was getting hurt that badly that for them to stop it. He looked like he could have continued. And I'm the type of coach that always says safety first. But in that situation, I honestly thought Ugas could have kept going. So I could see him. I could see why he was kind of angry that he that came up. But yeah, I thought, again, a good test for Spence. He came through, he got hurt, showed adversity, and showed how he would fight through that adversity in a smart way. Yeah, man, a good fight. Where do both guys go from here? Ugas, he's still, let me say, that's one thing that I want to say about Ugas. He and Gamboa too. I'm going to put him in that same mix. These guys are, some of the most underappreciated boxers of this generation. The reason why I say that specifically with Ugas, this guy came up, through the amateur ranks, and a lot of these, just because you're good as an amateur doesn't automatically mean you're going to be good as a pro. But it does give a good indication, specifically with the Cubans, though, because their style of boxing at the amateur level has not over the years translated into the pro level. Ugas was a world champion as an amateur, world champion, and medaled at the Olympics, but his career started off kind of rocky, losing early in his career to guys that we wouldn't even remember now, that are probably retired now. So he had to switch up his style and fought his way through, and he made it. He made it to the top. A lot of people were discrediting him. But listen, this guy, just a couple of fights ago, he gave Sean Porter a good test for a good run for his money. That was a close fight. with Sean Porter. And everybody knows the tough competitor that Sean Porter is. What else do we? I got his box rec up right here. Yeah, man, he's had very good fights. Mike Dallas Jr., Abel Ramos, Omar Figueroa Jr. Yeah, man, this guy. What do we got in the comment section? Get to that in 1 second. But anyway, Ugas, very underappreciated fighter. And the other underappreciated fighter is Gamboa. This guy, for Gamboa's record, I'm gonna get back to the Spence and Ugas and the comments, but Gamboa, another underappreciated fighter. This guy came up. His record is 30 wins, 18 knockouts. He has 5 losses, 4 of them by knockout. But this guy's always in exciting fights. Like he's either in a skill level is still up there. He's always in exciting fights. He's only the only guys that he's lost to. He has 5 losses all to guys that were either number 1 or number 2. So okay, he's on a 3-fight losing streak now, but he lost to Isaac Cruz last night. It was still an exciting fight. You know what I'm saying? The referee stopped it, but that was still an exciting fight. He lost to Devin Haney by unanimous decision. And I think that was the fight where he either tore his Achilles. He tore his Achilles and still went the distance using his skill. Lost to Gervonta Davis, and another exciting fight early in his career. And the other time he got stopped was against Terrence Crawford. And quick question, not a question, but observation or whatever, just a quick fact. No one has hurt Terrence Crawford harder than Gamboa. All right. And then going into the whole, now I'm just kind of drifting into the, the who would win between Spence and Crawford. There's not a more 50-50 fight than that I can recall. The only reason why I keep repeating, the only reason why I'm picking Spence by like a hair fracture more, not by more. I'm not even going to bet on it. That's how close it is because he's used to sparring and fighting guys that are bigger. Terrence Crawford's been hurt by smaller guys. I'm not, his skill level is up there, everything. I'm just saying he's been hurt by smaller guys. Gamboa came up from like 120 or 130 and fought Crawford and hurt him bad. No one's hurt Crawford worse than Gamboa. All right. And so all I'm saying, Spence, he spars and fights guys that are much bigger. There's been talks of Spence and Canelo, right? And I see Crawford's creeping up himself. He's already talking about moving up to 154. I see that. But anyway, that's the only hair fraction of a difference why I would pick Spence over Crawford. But yeah, so what do we got in the comment section? Dash, he had to stop it for sure. Spence Crawford next. I hope they promote it well. Well, Spence said it right after the fight. Usually the promoters tell them to kind of dance around the question. But Spence said it right out after the fight. He said, "I'm gonna come tell Terrence I'm coming for them belts." So Terrence Crawford is a free agent right now. He doesn't have anybody holding him back. Hopefully he signs with PBC and makes this fight happen. What else we got? Anything else in the comment section? Yeah, I think I mentioned this already. Someone sent to me on Twitter how I gave Ugas that 7th round. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but I'll say it one more time. I gave Ugas that 7th round after you got hurt. Spence did come back, but I thought Ugas did most of the work in that 7th round. So that is the reason why I did that there. And I said, yeah, all the questions were answered. A lot of people were asking, this because Spence had eye surgery and the car accident and da-da-da. I'm like, listen, man, these guys, he says it all the time. He doesn't want no tune-ups. He wants the best. Another discredited fighter. We have to give him credit for fighting Danny Garcia, who was once a champion. Danny Garcia is not no bum. He was a great fighter. That was a great win for Spence after that crazy car accident, which he almost, couldn't even walk. Shouldn't even be walking again from that crazy accident. His first fight is against former champion Danny Garcia. who's still a top 10 guy. And yeah, what do we got? What do we got here, Sheila? That fight with Crawford may not happen in the fall. The money and more hype. Yeah. Money and hype, of course, that gets in the way. But what was getting in the way before, and and like you said, what was getting in the way before is the confliction of the promotions. It's not, when people get mad at the fighters themselves. I say it all the time. You've been training since you were a little kid, for over a decade. You don't just wake up one day and be afraid of somebody. It's the promotions that don't want to do, have conflicting business ideas or whatever that are making it happen. Right now, Terrence Crawford is a free agent. He has, he makes the choice of what he's gonna do. He knows where the big fights are, so the ball's in his court right now. So hopefully, man, hopefully that I think, I don't know, for some reason I'm not just wishfully thinking. I'm pretty confident that the fight will happen this year, later on this year. Maybe a big boxing Christmas gift for everyone. What else? Any more comments? Any more questions? What other fights did we have? Of course, I got to mention my boy Connor Benn. We share the same last name, so I got to mention anytime he fights. Even though I missed this fight, I was at the gym watching the co-main event, and I tried to rush home. As soon as I put the fight on, he was already raising his hand with the belt around his waist. So he made quick work of Mr. Van Eerden. Going to be interesting to see where Mr. Benn goes from here. Another step-up fight. They're talking about Adrian Bronner, or just getting him over to North America to get him a little bit more exposure to this audience over here, because he's definitely big over there. Definitely big in the UK. People know his name. Within everyone in the boxing industry knows the Connor Benn name. But getting him over here and getting him in front of this will raise his stock even more. So I think that'll be the best thing for him. I think that's it. Any more scorecards coming in? Who else sent me their scorecard? Somebody else sent me their scorecard. Let me double check. No. That is it. All right, man. Thank you for joining me. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Join us every day. Dash, what up? You got something here? I agree. I also think the fight happens between Crawford and Spence. Yeah, man. Yeah. I think it's going to happen. Steven Stuckey, what up? Thanks for talking. Thanks for joining in. You got your scorecard, Steven? You got a couple seconds here before I log off. I'll try to talk about a few more things, but I don't know what to talk about, man. What do I think about Isaac Cruz, the pit bull? This guy, bless up. This guy, the pit bull, he fights exactly the way that he fights exactly the way that his nickname is. He has that forever cardio. Obviously, cardio is not forever, but I mean the way that he comes after you, and his fighting style, he has to have that extra cardio because every punch is a missile. So it was a great contrast of styles with Gamboa, who again, his Gamboa's great boxing skills, and no matter how dangerous the fight is, he'll still keep his hands down and try to slip your punches, which gets him caught sometimes, but at the same time makes it exciting because he's still popping. He was still popping Isaac Cruz with some good shots. The difference was Isaac Cruz kept his hands up, moving, slip, then quick slip, and then coming with those bombs. So you can't. It's hard to keep someone off you like that. Gamboa did it for a while, but again, he's also 40 years old, so the punch resistance might not be there anymore. He was mad that the referee stopped it, but he was getting clipped at the end there. But specifically with Isaac Cruz, he's right up there with the top guys. He gave Tank a good test in that fight. And again, if you look at him, there's at no point in time, like specifically with the way he fights, at no point in time did he look like he was tired. Like he never took a deep breath. He never took a deep breath or anything like that. Even because when you miss punches, when you're throwing, if someone's blocking your punches, it doesn't make you as tired. But when you're throwing and you're missing, especially if they're power punches and you're missing, which Cruz is doing a lot of, missing takes more air out of you, makes you more tired. Gambo was making him miss a lot, but again, Cruz did not look tired at all. So if you're fighting Cruz, you better be, they say, being in dog shape. His name is the Pitbull. He's already in dog shape. So you got to be in whatever extra dog shape if you're going up against Isaac Cruz. So those are my thoughts on Isaac Cruz. What do we got here from Steven? At first was thinking Bud would beat Errol. Now I don't know. And then perhaps I understand Spence a little, but Crawford is a savage. Yes, Crawford is definitely a savage, man. He's definitely a savage. Crawford is the best switch hitter in the game. There's nobody, most boxers at the highest level, almost all boxers, you've been boxing for, again, since you're a little kid, most boxers can switch to the other stance. But most don't have the confidence to switch stances at the highest level when you're in the middle of a fight, the way that Terrence Crawford does. So there's nobody in the game that's better at switching than Terrence Crawford. So that's also gonna be interesting to see how he comes at Spence. Is he gonna stay orthodox, or is he gonna switch it up to southpaw? Usually, I don't know. There's never, obviously, not telling his secrets, but just from observation, usually when Crawford goes into his southpaw position is when he's going to finish you off, when he's going to wants to land power punches and sit down more in his shots. That's when he's usually in that southpaw stance. So yeah. My thoughts on Haney and Kambosos. Very interesting. Haney has to go all the way to Australia, not once but twice, to beat him. Kambosos is on a tear now, so it's all about how focused Kambosos is going to be now that he has the crown, now that he's on the top of the hill right now, because you never know. That's why sometimes it's hard to predict what's going to happen, because you don't know where these guys' mentality is after they get to the top. A perfect example is Lopez, the guy who Kambosos got his belt from. Lopez was on top of the world when he beat Lomachenko. Nobody was expecting that win. He was on top of the world, and what did he do with it? He just felt it's almost like for Lopez, like beating Lomachenko was already the pinnacle of his career, and he almost felt like he didn't have to do anything else, and everyone's gonna have to, go through him to do. But he tried to wait that train too long. Just thought he was more valuable than he really was inside and out the ring, and then lost his focus. I believe he lost his focus, and that's how he lost to Kambosos. Not taking any credit away from Kambosos, because he fought as best as he could. But specifically with Tio, like the way that he was focused, like Tio said he studied Lomachenko for years. Like he studied Lomachenko for years, and that's how he fought that fight like that. But I don't think he took Kambosos as seriously. I definitely don't think he took Kambosos as seriously, and that's he was already talking about what he was going to do next and moving up to 140 and who he's going to fight and plans that he had for later on. He was overlooking Kambosos, and so I forget where I was going with that, but anyway. Oh yeah, that's what I meant. You don't know if after these guys get to the top, if they actually can stay focused. So with Kambosos, we're gonna see this now. We're gonna see Haney. He's not gonna have to do it once, but twice. What else we got here, Steven? Also, where do you think Teofimo goes from here? He had high hopes for him. He's a killer, albeit but undisciplined one. Yeah, exactly. I'll just going through that. Yeah, I think he underestimated him. His dad has a lot to do with it. Yeah, again, you don't know, man. Yeah, it's always an iffy situation, man. It's the X factors, the outside X factors. You don't know how many of these things are actually affecting the fighters, because there's some fighters that have a lot of X factors. You know what I'm saying? That a lot of X factors. When I say X factors, I'm talking about things outside of the ring, outside distractions. But they don't let it affect them inside the ring. As soon as that bell rings, they turn off that switch and can stay focused. Not all fighters can do that. Some fighters, they take that extra baggage, and then after the fight, that's when they get on the microphone and say, well, no excuses, but this happened to me, and I hurt my hand, and I couldn't train properly, and a bunch of stuff was going on. But no excuses though, no excuses. So some fighters can have that focus and not let the reasons why they could have an excuse affect them, and some fighters can't, man. So and that's one of the reasons why when people ask me to make predictions, or that's one of the reasons why I don't put money on fights. Like I'm fine making predictions, but when I make predictions, that's just assuming that everything is going perfect during training camp. I'm just assuming everything's going perfect and there's no distractions, but we don't know. Another great example, Andy Ruiz, when he beat Anthony Joshua off a 2-week notice. He beat Anthony Joshua off a 2-week notice, and I said to myself, for the rematch, okay, if he beat this guy off a 2-week notice, if he has 8-9 months to train for him, why would he not do it again? People thought I was crazy, but like if he has 8-9 months to specifically train for this guy when he just beat him off a 2 weeks notice, why would you not think he could do it again? But I didn't know that he was gonna party and not take his training seriously and come into the fight like 30 pounds heavier than he did in the rematch, because he was so unfocused that he was just living his life. And what I'm saying, that's these are the X factors that you don't know about outside of the sport, right? So sorry for that little random rant. Hopefully that wasn't too bad for you guys. But yeah. I've been talking for a half an hour already. Wow. Thank you for joining me again. The scorecard, the boxing scorecard. You got to come with your scorecard and an explanation, not just your opinion. Like, share, subscribe. Please, tell everybody about it. Every Sunday at 11. My boy Mike Gore is going to be back with the knockout of the week at 4 p.m. And of course, every day at 4, you could check out the newest fighters, any up and coming fighters. We prospect them. This is one of the only channels where you get the newest prospects before they become big. Yeah. Every day at 4 on this channel right here, Talkin Fight. And yeah, I'll see you guys later on. Peace.